Yo, what up, Night Nation? Emergency press conference time. Obviously, huge news out of college football yesterday that USC and UCLA are leaving the Pac-12 and going to the Big 10. This is eerily similar to when UCF got admitted into the Big East, got the call up from Conference USA, and, Pitt left, and all of a sudden the Big East broke and the American was formed, and all the other teams went to power conferences like Louisville, like Rutgers, all that, and we got screwed and stuck into the American. This is feeling eerily similar. Obviously, no one from the Big 12 has left yet or anything like that, but this is going to create waves. This college football realignment is nowhere near done. You obviously saw Texas and OU last year, and now USC and UCLA going cross country to a Midwestern conference just means all bets are off. Anything can happen. Any team, does not matter region anymore, can go anywhere. This can go one of two ways, I think, for UCF, maybe one of three ways. And it's either very good or catastrophic. One, best case scenario, with USC and UCLA gone, which is UCLA is a premier basketball program, obviously, and USC is one of the most historic football programs in college football. The Pac-12's buying power, their market losing, LA, just their big, huge brands weakens them severely. And instead of doing the poaching, they get poached. Ideally, by the Big 12, we go after the leftovers, whether that's Oregon or Washington or whoever that may be, the Arizona teams. So as soon as the news broke, a lot of rumblings happened that Washington and Oregon immediately applied for the Big 10. Those are the next two kind of biggest programs in that conference. So let's pretend they leave and they go to the Big 10. Then that leaves the leftovers, even probably in a really good place for the Big 12 to poach. The Arizona teams, I don't know, whoever else, maybe Utah, maybe four teams from there. The Big 12 strengthens by four more teams. The worst case scenario is it's the opposite. The Pac-12, let's say they remain how they are now, where they still have Oregon and Washington, and they're the ones who do the poaching, because, you have to look at it at what leftovers is in a stronger position. Is it more attractive for Oklahoma State and Baylor and some of the premier Big 12 teams remaining to link up with like Oregon and Washington if those teams stay in the Pac-12? Or is it more, advantageous for those teams to come over to the Big 12? I don't know. Money is obviously a huge factor at play here. There's the TV deals, which pretty much determine all this, the channels, ESPN, Fox, all the ones that control college football. I think it depends on what dominoes fall next. If Oregon and Washington decide to go to the Big 10, the Big 12 is even bigger position of strength. So that would be the worst case scenario, where the Pac-12 comes for the premier remaining Big 12 teams like Oklahoma State, like Baylor, Kansas, they poach them, and then the Big 12 probably dissolves at that point. And then I don't know what happens. The remaining teams, UCF, Cincy, all the other teams that are left in the Big 12, start scurrying to other conferences. I don't know if there would be a lifeboat for the UCFs in another power conference, or what would happen, or another new conference would form, kind of like what happened with the American. And then scenario 3 is probably just neutral. Everyone stands pat, which is probably the least likely, where the Pac-12, let's just say they keep their remaining teams and they go pick up, San Diego State and Boise State, right? They poach from the G5 to kind of, get their numbers back up, and then the Big 12 stays exactly the same. That would be kind of net neutral for UCF. I think we've seen how unpredictable college football realignment has been, that there's just I have no idea which way anything is swaying. Let's hope it works out for UCF. To me, though, what this says, I put a bunch of tweets out there kind of in my story of other people tweeting about their feelings on this. And I kind of feel it's just, I don't want to say it's ruining college football. Look, I know we live in a democracy, and we live in a country that is about capitalism, and this is all money. This is all fair. I'm not saying anything is wrong, illegal, not deserved, or whatever. But it just feels like college football as we know it is over. And I get there's the only constant in life is change, but I think we've just gone over we've crossed a new line, starting with the Oklahoma-Texas move, and now this move with USC going to the Big 10 has just made it where everything's a money grab. The traditions, the rivalries, the regionalism of college football is dying. I mean, USC and UCLA are in California. Every other team is essentially in the Midwest in the Big 10. I mean, you're going to have USC and UCLA for every road game traveling across country. College football at its roots is a regional sport. That's what makes it great. The rivalries, the in-state rivalries, the in-state recruiting rivalries, the in-state games. When stuff like this happens, it's just blowing it up. The traditions, the history, the rivalries we're used to seeing, I'm sure some of them will stay around. There'll still be some of that great aspect. I don't want to be super dramatic and be like it's all dead, but a lot of it will die. When you combine that in the last 12 months with the transfer portal and NIL, I don't know. It's just all so much at once. Maybe if it happened out over a period of a few years, it would be easier to get used to. But all this at one just feels like, wow, the sport is just changing in a way that feels like it's ruining a lot of the feel good about it. And, look, this is America. This is capitalism. And I understand that, it's get eaten or die and all this and that. And everything's always about money. And college football was always about business and always about money. But I don't know. It just feels different now. And college football is my favorite sport. So I'm speaking as a fan here. And, as a fan, I'm obviously biased. As a fan, I have feelings that aren't the same as me in the professional world and as a business person, right? As a fan, you get tugs at your heartstrings a little bit to see the game change in what feels like a worse way. I don't know. I can't predict the future. Maybe it won't be that way. Maybe it'll be better, more exciting. To me, it just feels like the charm of college football has been stripped and all the things that we love about it is slowly getting removed. And it's going to be a sport that's going to be unrecognizable. I'm sure some of the stuff will still be, great that we love about it. Great games, still some of obviously the same traditions and whatever. There's still college game day, and obviously there's still great football to be played and all that. But I don't know. It just feels different. As a fan, you don't really have to be logical sometimes, right? I mean, like I just always think of the example like Dwayne Wade, growing up, my favorite player of all time, when he left the Heat, like it felt like a personal attack on me. Logically that's not what it is, but sometimes as a fan you get so invested that it feels personal. And it's a big part of your life. College football, as it is, all of us here and everyone that follows me, we care about UCF, we care about college football. So hopefully this works out well for UCF. I don't know. Everyone's asking what could happen. It could go so many different ways. Let's pray it doesn't happen a repeat of the Big East in 2011 or whatever that was. Let's pray the Big 12 goes on the offensive and starts poaching the Pac-12. I mean, that's all we can really hope for, or hope for nothing to happen, essentially. But this is a potentially precarious situation for UCF. If the Pac-12 does the poaching, I really don't know where that leaves UCF. I don't know if that means they go back in the group of 5. I don't know. Independent, I really just don't know. I don't know where it leaves them. I guess, what conferences have the room to take another team? Is UCF still one of the top choices, or is it Cincy, or is it BYU? Is it Houston? I don't know. I just don't know how that works. I will say one thing, though. I do feel pretty lucky that UCF got the call to the Big 12 last year and not this year, because it feels like we got the last lifeboat out. But we'll see. Charge on and let's pray nothing bad happens. Go Knights.